Just start with acknowledging without all the other shit. Like, yeah, you're right. That's a valid experience you felt. Say that. That'll alleviate your whole conscience. You're not lying. That's a valid experience you felt. That sentence lets people say whatever they want. You're not confirming it. Your journalistic integrity doesn't get touched, and you'll hear a lot more stories.
Yeah, and then there's just always that side of me that's always just like fucking facts aren't feeling, or feelings aren't facts and stuff. So like, you know
Ben
what I'm
Shapiro's
saying?
not that good at arguing.
Well, I'm not, but that's not
Sorry, you
generally.
say that, and I just think Ben Shapiro because it's like his
That's okay.
catchphrase.
That's a lot of people's catchphrase. It's a very but it's a valid thing, and there's lots of people who agree with that. So I mean,
So facts. Do you know what the word fact means? It's a thing
please,
a
please.
lot of people agree on. So therefore, a fact isn't even a universal constant. It's actually a variable that's democratically reinforced. Thus, facts are always in flux. And if you know anything about numbers, numbers lie all the time because stats are simply just things that humans interpret. So without the interpretation of a stat, it's just nothing. It's a number on a page. The story is where the lie happens. People take those numbers and lie. I've seen me and next man's look at the same data sheet and watch the man's lie about his success while I'm seeing his failure in my face because I read the numbers different than him. So like the fact is a lot of things are not really anything other than like you can say gravity is negative 9.8 meters per second, but that's just the best we understand it. We don't even know what the fuck that means. It's just a constant in the universe. Maybe we're wrong and we just measured it incorrectly. What if we're not actually based on carbon? You know what's fucking crazy? One more. This is apparently 90% like space and shit. Like it's mostly space because solid matter is atoms and atoms is mostly space. So how the fuck is this all space? You know what I mean? These are all facts. They're all fucking wonky. And they're all just shit we kind of just best understand with the limited understanding of our understandings. So what's a fact other than feelings?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, but there are certain things that are very measurable, and
Facts.
the which we have the best idea of facts that we have at the time, and that's fine. But I think you're taking that idea and you're taking it to a little bit more
I'm a rapper,
literal.
my guy. I take
What
every
you're saying,
language used very literally.
I understand that. I understand that. But when you're talking about because someone isn't because if someone is that fragile that we can't have these conversations, then that to me because you are bringing up these ideas and facts, then I think that's more what we're leaning on,
Well,
that people need to sort of get over themselves and sort of look at it in a little
I don't
bit
know.
more of a
Nobody's fucking
broader
getting clipped
idea.
by police in my family, my guy. But there's a memorial.
I got
A
tons. I got
there's a
tons of guys
memorial a
arrested
kilometer
for
and a
anything.
half. But no, but there's like a memorial a kilometer and a half from my place, maybe 2 kilometers. That's a mile in your language, maybe a little more than a mile. And it's where the cops last shot a black kid in 2018 in my neighborhood, and they put up a little memorial, so I get to go by that and see that. And that's on the same street where up the street 5 years prior they shot another black kid. Both were mentally unstable, but there's no resources in the city because hashtag English, whatever. Google language politics in Quebec is some fuckery if you speak English. The cops won't even talk to you in your language before they shoot you on purpose.
Hmm.
So imagine that's an extra variable,
Yeah.
a real
Yeah.
one.
And
I just want to make it abundantly clear so
yeah.
that nobody thinks I'm making that shit up. It is
And
like that with
that
our police. They don't have to legally speak English to you as of 2021 when the mayor of Montreal made it legal for no government service to have to speak English to you in Montreal, a city of 4 million fucking people that has tourists. Okay? So imagine that's part of the realities and shit too. Yo, that's all real shit. Google that shit. Just
I,
Google it. Like,
and like what sucks about this is that if I say anything that doesn't go along with what you're saying, is that there's a side of people who would be like, well, then this guy is an absolute racist piece of shit,
nah, you just have
and
to
it's not.
acknowledge it.
I'm totally willing to acknowledge it, and I'm totally here for it. And I don't want to be that guy who's like black on black crime and fucking George Floyd was a
Yo,
criminal and
hold up 1 second, my guy. Late bloomers up in Toronto and you never heard that shit, my guy? Bro, you've got to look at what the fuck is happening in Montreal. Because, yo, here's what happens. Quick tangent. Montreal's like, fuck the Maple Leafs. I'm not really a Habs fan, so I'm very happy to make fun of Habs fans. We're we're so cool. And the whole city thinks it's cool. And then Toronto's like, y'all a bunch of assholes, eh? And I'm like, actually, you're right. Montreal, y'all a bunch of assholes, right? Anyway, so nobody gives a fuck about it. Plus, Ontario politics vilify Quebec politics because Trudeau gives Quebec way more money than it should get per person, per blah, blah, blah. And the rest of Canada's fucking salty, so ain't nobody give a shit about Quebec unless you live in Quebec. And then nobody in your country even gives a fuck about Canada. So let alone a place that doesn't barely have English news. So it's all kinds of fuckery up in my place. And it's the same shit. And we're actually the better version, apparently.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, so, and there's counties.
Sorry, I just had to respond to the fellow Canadian.
Yeah, no, that's
dude. 14% of Quebec is English, and that's all in Montreal. So if Quebec's 8 million people, that works out to being, I don't know, approximately 1 million people. So that you can argue is approximately 1 in 4 people in the Montreal area of the island is about English. And so the way that the electoral map works out. Majority governments happen because of rural Quebec. And so the majority government overrides the municipal government and they can just enforce language politics. And anyway, it's really convoluted. But over the last 6-7 years, it's gotten really fucking scary bad. And instead of giving a shit, nobody cares about it. Yo, this is a criticism of my music scene, and I'm criticizing myself as heavily as everyone else. We did nothing to rap about this shit. What's wrong with us all? My gosh, what a waste. So now I'm trying to make that awareness of a real thing that's happening in my place. Because, so as a person, I guess, who's kind of watching my rights get suppressed and being voiceless and shit, it's like if you were to then be like, but what about the fact that 84% of people, I'd be knock you out. I'd be like, fuck you. I don't give a shit what you have to say after this moment. Because frankly, you're not hearing the fact that my mom might go to the hospital and not be able to understand the doctor, and that's legal. And it wasn't legal last year, but it's legal this year. So when that kind of stuff happens because you have no political power because of a system that's corrupt, you kind of start going, I know, but I need you to acknowledge my plight is real so that other people acknowledge my plight is real, and we can create the momentum to create political change because 51 or 52% of America's Caucasian. Let's be real, without the Caucasians, ain't nothing changing. So how do you even get to the part where people are willing to listen if everybody's coming back at you with the but this, but that, but this? And I know I got really passionate, but we tapped into language politics in my home, and I guess it really relates heavy to other people's struggles because it's a fucking real thing, man. I can't register behind that suit in Quebec. I will have to come up with a French name to register my company. I can't call it behind that suit. It will be publicly facing behind that suit, but its legal name will be some fucking bullshit for the sake of tax.
Yeah.
And that's weird, right?
Yeah, that is real weird. And again, I see that. And then I see
Hold up, Dularis, it's not legally required no more. It's just not legally required. As I understand the law, I might be wrong about the cops, but definitely not at the hospitals and shit. Definitely not at the government. It's not required. That doesn't mean they won't provide it. It means they have the right to not speak English in downtown English. You could be in the English part of Montreal, and it's okay for you to not. You know what I mean? That's what the law says. So how it plays out, I mean, who knows? Maybe people have common sense. But they also made it so that it's harder for French kids to go to English schools. Now, you know why they do that? Because then they control the flow of information to the French majority and make it harder for them to get exposed to English on some literal manipulation of a system to make it so that there's divisiveness and shit. And anybody in Canada knows this is happening here. They all heard about the Bill 101s and shit, but it's actually gotten weirder. So we had a Pauline Marois in 2014. We kicked her out. The next party got in. For 5 years, it was good. They got out. The next people got in and just didn't say the key word of separation and then pulled off all the fucking weird-ass fascist weird shit that my province does that's suppressing my identity as an Anglophone in my city, which is why being an English Montreal rapper, an English media source in my city has become a huge narrative in my life. I think we're even going to do a fucking press run for a shirt that just says, support local English media, because then it's all of us.
Yeah, I think supporting alternative media in general is
I mean, sorry, I got a little sidetracked. To bring it back home, it's like everybody that you're talking to that gets that passionate has their version of that going on. And so when you counter it with I guess, shit that's weird in the eyes of the person you're talking to, they feel away.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're attacked
and
personally.
and fair enough, and fair enough.